Mr. Bateman?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bateman, your case was assigned to me, so I'll be the first one to begin our interview process. Mr. Bateman, how old are you, sir?
45,
And how long have you been in prison on these charges?
22 years.
Bateman, tell me, if you would, in your own words, what happened?
I was abandoned and abused as a child. Me and my wife at the time had problems. I was hurting and I just wanted someone else to hurt and just lashed out at anyone I ran across.
So tell me what in how this act occurred. I mean, I hear you were having problems, but what is it that prompted you to brutally rape this lady?
Sir, I couldn't tell you exactly what it was. I knew my morals wasn't where they should be. I wasn't right with the Lord above. I mean, I was just in a bad place. I wasn't really drinking or doing drugs. I was just in a bad place, and I just made a bad decision and hurt somebody in the process of it.
You say you weren't drinking or doing drugs. Have you had a history of drinking or doing drugs?
I've had one DWI, but I'm not really a drinker or a drugger. I don't like being out of control of my own self, really.
Have you drank in the past? Your DWI, when was your DWI?
98, 99. It was
What were you drinking?
Budweiser.
Do you have any sort of a drinking problem? Were you drinking on this particular night?
No.
What prompted you to do what you did? I mean, to enter her apartment and do what you did. I mean, I'm having trouble understanding. You say you don't like to drink. You want to stay in control. I mean, you weren't drinking. Why did you do this? Try to help me explain. You've been in prison for 22 years. I assume you've given some thought to this.
Yes, sir. Every day I think about it. I've tried to come up with a good logical reason for 22 years. And sir, to be honest with you, there is no logical reason. A logical person does not do things like that. I mean, like I say, I was abused as a child and abandoned by my mother and stepmothers. And the only thing I can figure out of 22 years of thinking and pondering over this is me and my wife had a fight. She left, went to her mother's, and I went for a ride, ended up going jogging, and just felt like since I was hurting, I just felt like I needed to hurt someone else, I guess. I wish there was a good explanation, sir, but there's not. There's no explanation. There's no excuse. There's no, I mean,
Mr. Bateman, as I review your record, you tell me you write and you talk about you never intended to do what you did. And if it wouldn't have been for alcohol or drugs, this would have never happened. Why would you say something like that then, and now all of a sudden say drugs and alcohol were not involved?
Because I was, at the time of looking at, when I caught the charge, I was trying to get leniency on the sentence. And obviously,
so you were lying about that. You were lying about being on drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, that's what my public defender told me I should say.
So you just said whatever it is your lawyer told you to say.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Let's talk about what you've done while you've been in prison. What kind of programs have you taken? What programs do you believe have helped you the most?
I've taken just about everything the DOC offers. The programs that helped me the most were the sex offender program and church.
Okay, and what did sex offender program teach you?
It pretty much gave me the conclusion of why I did what I did.
I've been asking, tell me why you did it.
Because as a child, I was abused and I was acting out as an adult.
You know, a lot of people are abused. They don't go out and rape people. They don't go breaking into somebody's apartment and rape them and do the things that you did to this lady.
Yes,
I'm having trouble understanding this. You know, it sounds to me, if you were on drugs or alcohol, that kind of makes sense. But you're giving me no reason here to accept that. And let's talk a little bit about your prison record. You've been written up 4 or 5 times for intoxication. What's that about? What's that intoxication about?
An escape from the environment I'm in. I've taken responsibility for every one of them before.
So you don't have a drug or alcohol problem, yet you get high in prison. You've been written up at least 4 or 5 times in the last 2 years for intoxication. What do you get high on in prison?
The Seroquel pills, Mojo, whatever to get.
First time you ever took any of that stuff when you came to prison? I mean, you never did that on the outside?
Sir, Mojo was not even in thought of when I was on the street 22 years
How long
ago.
you been in prison?
22 years.
Mojo's been around for a long time. Don't give me that.
It hasn't, well.
I was a drug court judge for 14 years. I started in 2002. Mojo's been around forever.
I've never heard of it till about 10 years ago.
Well, what were you taking on the outside?
On the outside, I mean, the most I do is smoke a little weed. That's about it.
You know, Mr. Bateman,
I don't have a criminal
I
record.
come in here with an open mind, and I come in here, one of the things that I demand from people sitting across that desk is honesty.
Yes.
Now, you tell me your public defender told you to lie, so you lied back then. You tell me I don't have any kind of a drinking or drug problem, yet you get intoxicated in prison because of problems going on. You've been in prison for 22 years. The last 2 years, you've been written up 4 or 5 times for intoxication. Tell me about that. What's that about?
Well, sir, up until this new act 122 made me eligible for parole, nothing I did in prison mattered. All the classes and programs I've taken up until now wasn't for y'all. It wasn't for your parole, because it didn't matter.
No, it was for you.
It was
But
for
you
me.
apparently didn't get anything out of it, because for the last 2 years, you've been intoxicated 4 or 5 times. Why is that?
I'm over a year without a write-up right so far, so it's been over
1
a year.
year, not a write-up.
Yeah.
But after 20 years, you got 4 write-ups for intoxication.
Yeah,
After you learned, you had a chance to get out.
no, sir. No, sir. Not after I learned I had.
So before you found out you could get out, you didn't care about what you did.
No, I did. It's not that I didn't care. I just needed an escape from my environment. That was all. That's the only. That is the
Well,
only. Reason.
what happens when you get out, when you need an escape from your environment?
I go to church, or I go to my grandparents, or I call my sisters or my sons, or I find something productive to do. So there's nothing left in prison productive for me to do. I've been through the schools. I've been through all the programs. I wish there was something I could do. I mean, the only thing I have now, I play music. I spend my days playing music. When I'm not working, that's what I do.
What kind of job do you have in prison?
Field Crew 15 right now.
Sorry?
Field Crew 15. We plant.
Hey, how long have you been doing that?
About a year. Before that,
What would you say to the victim if you had an opportunity to say something to her?
If I had an opportunity to say something to the victim, I would apologize to her again, and I would pray that she's been able to move on past this. I really pray that she was able to move past this and it didn't affect her as bad as. I mean, I don't know what to say, sir. I mean,
What do you think she's gone through? What do you think she went through that night when you were doing all of those things to her?
Total terror, sir. That's what I think. At the time, it didn't matter to me. When I was 23 years old, I was a child. All I knew was abuse and hurt, sir. So that's all I knew. That's all I knew to do. I did it to my wife. I've done it to all my girlfriends. I mean, that's all I knew. That's how I knew.
So this isn't the first time you've raped and beat people? Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, no, this is definitely the first time, but I mean,
Well, I mean, you said you did the same thing you did to her, to all of your girlfriends and everything else. What does that mean?
it's just been like verbal abuse, just hollering and cussing and all that. That's why that night, me and my wife got in an argument and she left. That's, you know what I'm saying? It's not, I haven't never been physical or anything until this incident here.
Have you taken any anger management classes?
Yes, sir.
Sorry?
Yes, sir.
What did you take? I didn't see that you took Cage Your Rage or anything like that. What did you take?
I don't remember. I've taken everything they have here.
Well, I thought I listed all your programs. I don't know that you did Cage Your Rage. I don't see it. I see you did Living in Balance, Substance Abuse, Victim Awareness, Reentry, Sex Offender Treatment.
Should be the fifth one on your list on programs.
All right. What did you learn in Cage Your Rage?
It's been a long time since I took it. Sir, I don't remember it. It was about staying calm and thinking about your actions and what the effects your actions have and what your anger does to others.
Where will you be living if you're given an early release?
With my grandparents, hopefully. They're old, they're in their 80s. I only have 2 left. I've lost all the rest of my family in the past 4 or 5 years. My grandparents really need help right now, and I'd really like to get back.
That's in Frankfurt.
Yes, sir.
And what kind of work will you be doing?
Mechanic work around the shop. I mean, it's
Shop.
LLC recycling. And I have my trades. I don't think I would have a problem getting a job. I can do anything in construction, electrical, HVAC, mechanical. I
What is your plan to stay sober?
go to church, stay with family, stay away from people that are using.
Do you go to church while you're in prison?
Yes.
How long have you been going to church?
20 years. Off and on.
You had 5 write-ups for intoxication while you're going to church. What other plans do you have to stay sober?
I mean, I'm going to go to my sex offender classes. I'll probably get in an AA group somewhere around Franklinton. I'm sure they have them. And I want to be a part of society. I want to be a productive part of society. I don't want to be a delinquent part of society. I mean, my parish there's poverty. I want to try to help the parish I grew up in.
You have lost 510 days of good time.
Yes, sir.
Why is it?
Not sure. It all happened at the end of my jokes too. Nothing. If you look at the beginning of this time, I got a pretty good disciplinary record.
That's what bothers me.
Yeah. And then you see, once I've completed all my classes, I'm so bored, there's just nothing to do. There's just absolutely nothing to offer.
So you got bored, so you got in trouble. Is that what I'm hearing? Boredom puts you in trouble?
Yes. It did.
What happened to get bored on the outside?
There's no time to be bored on the outside, so I work too much for that. I got a son, a grandchild. I mean, there's way too much going on. You got to figure in here, I'm sitting 24 hours a day, and I look at cinder block wall for 24 hours a day for 22 years.
All right, Mr. Bateman. Thank you. Gordon, what can you tell us about Mr. Bateman?
His record's pretty much, you've gone over that. He is capable of doing the vocational type work that he said he is.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, your question?
No,
Okay, we have some supporters. Mr. Bateman, is Dallas Bateman present? Mr. Bateman?
Yes, sir.
Bateman, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you'd like to tell us about your dad?
Well, over the past 22 years, I haven't really had a chance to build a relationship with him. I know he's made mistakes, and that's why I haven't been able to build a relationship with him. I would really like to be able to build a relationship with him, but ultimately that's up to y'all, and I do understand y'all's concerns. He made his choice, and he's had to pay for it. As far as substance abuse, I don't know much about that on his end, but I feel that if y'all do grant him a early release, that having family out here to support him will be a big help. I'm his son, and I'll be there for him. I have a daughter. I know he would love to be there with his grandkids. I can't hold his hand. He's a grown man. At the end of the day, it is up to him, and I'm sure y'all understand that as well. But I will be there to support him, and I believe in my heart that if he wants to do right and he gets out, that he's going to do it, and I believe that he will. I would really love to have the chance to finally build a relationship with my dad. I never had that. It would be really nice to finally work on a car with him or just build memories finally. As a matter of fact, I actually work at a mechanic shop. I wanted to be a mechanic just so I could have a way to feel close to him. But as far as the support system and everything, there's plenty of people to support him. I'm here. My aunt, which is his sister's here to support him. We love him. We just want to see him home. And I think that if y'all give him a chance, he'll do right.
Thank you, Mr. Bateman. I appreciate your comments. He's very lucky to have you supporting in his corner. Thank you for your comments. Ms. Smith?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, ma'am. Tell us what you'd like us to know about your brother.
Thank you. I'm Darwin's younger sister. He has 2 nephews and a niece. We have lost our parents. We've lost our grandparents on our dad's side. As he said, he's got his grandparents on his mother's side. We share the same dad. We're on the verge of probably losing them soon. They could really use some help. I want to be able to take my kids fishing with their uncle. I want him to be able to be a part of our lives. It's been very difficult losing so much family, and he wasn't even able to go to our dad's funeral in March. And what he says about the abuse is true. It was not easy for us or for our sister growing up. We weren't taught we just didn't have a normal family environment. We've had to learn by others' mistakes. He made a really big mistake at a young age, and he's paid for it. And I just want him to have the opportunity to come out and show you guys and everybody else that he has learned from this mistake. He's got a support system. He mentioned that he would be working for LCS Recycling. It's a company that I run for my boss. We recycle used cooking oil. I've got a fleet of trucks that could always use a good mechanic. My boss has shrimp boats that, again, could always use mechanics. I have enough work to keep him busy. And on the weekends when we're not working, I fully intend to keep him busy with spending time with his son and his grandkids and his nephews and his niece. We've got a lot of catching up to do. And I really want that opportunity for all of us as a family. We really need to come back together after so much loss. I understand that he's had some write-ups, but drugs are not a part of my life. Neither is alcohol. And I plan on spending as much time as I possibly can with him. He's got a great support system out here. Please give him the chance to come home and experience family again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Ms. Smith. We appreciate your speaking to us. Mr. Bateman, is there anything you'd like to say before the board votes?
I don't know really what to say to try to sway y'all for a decision in my favor, but whatever y'all's decision, I'm sure is God's will for whatever y'all about to vote to happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bateman. Mr. Bateman, I have some serious concerns about where you are in your progress. You indicated, well, when I first came in, I was fine. And then as I moved forward, I took all of these programs, I took everything that there was to offer long before I ever knew I was going to be able to get out. And then when you found out you were going to get out, you said you got bored and you started doing mojo and getting write-ups while you've been in prison. You haven't been very honest. I don't believe to me. I don't know if that's simply because you're dishonest or simply because you have some sort of issues in your life that you can't recognize the truth. I'm not certain about that. But you have a very bad disciplinary record, a horrible disciplinary record. The crime was horrible. You've given all kinds of different stories about what or why it happened. Anger management. I mean, I could sense you getting angry as we were talking here. You said you've taken everything that the prison has to offer you. And when I asked you about Cage the Rage, which I didn't see, and you said, hey, I did it. Okay, tell me what you learned about it. You said, well, it's been so long, I don't know. I just don't think you're ready, Mr. Bateman. You've got law enforcement opposition, you've got victim opposition, your disciplinary record is really poor. I think you've got a drug issue that you're unwilling to accept or understand. My vote today is going to be to deny. I just think you've got a lot more work to do. I wish you well, and I hope that you can get some programs under your belt that might change my mind if I'm on the panel again when you come back. But I'm only 1 of 3 votes, so that's my vote. Ms. Jackson?
Bateman, you've been in a lot of programs, and I give you credit for that. But the problem is, it doesn't seem like any of those programs are being used. I get the sense that you are just a body in the room, attempting to get credit that might benefit you sometime. But the ironic thing is, you lost 510 days of good time because of your behavior within the institution. You have a tendency to blame others or circumstances for the decisions and the choices that you made. You talk about all I have to do all day is sit and look at cinder block walls. Well, that's because you raped a woman viciously and you're being incarcerated because of what you did. And so I'm sorry that you're bored, but you put yourself there. And I don't think you have any true recognition of how just totally devastating this has been for this woman. She's, I guess she would love to just be bored, but she has to live with this trauma. And I just don't feel like you understand that you get, how terrible this was for her. I don't think you're able at this point to accept responsibility for what you've done. And it's unfortunate that though you sat through sex offender treatment and other classes, they don't seem to have become internalized with you. It's like you have a block in resistance. And so I will tell you, I'm just not comfortable with you. You're only 45 years old, and you've got a lot of opportunity to hurt somebody else because you haven't worked on yourself enough to have enough understanding of who you are, why you act the way that you do. And today, I don't feel comfortable people in all. I would encourage you to do some more work, some more introspection, to stop blaming others for the choices that you've made. Stop see, look at you there. See, you don't want to hear what I have to say. You started off by saying this happened because of your abuse, the way that you were abused as a child. That's what you started off to say. I didn't just quote the air. Your sisters were abused. They grew up in the same environment.
Yes, ma'am.
They're not where you are.
Ma'am, you just told me that I had no idea what this woman went through. I was raped as a child for years. I know exactly what I did this woman to the T. My dad fucked me in my ass for years. I know exactly what I did this woman. You have no idea how remorseful, and I wish I could take this.
My vote is to deny just for what you just did. My vote today is to deny. I don't think you're ready.
Thank you. I concur with my colleagues and I vote to deny.
Mr. Bateman, you have 3 votes to deny. You've got a lot of work to do.
Sir, I'll be going before I come back in front of you. I appreciate y'all's consideration. No hard feelings. I know you're doing your job. I know y'all protecting the public, and I appreciate it.
Bateman, I hope you look introspectively, and I hope that you can come to grips with what you've done, who you are. Good luck to you.
Y'all too.
We'll close out. Thank you, Gordon. Appreciate all your help today. We'll be adjourned at 10:46.
Yes, sir.
We know
Count it, please.
I know you're just protecting the public. He's right. Wow. I mean, it does almost seem to me that his anger is jacked up in this spring that's been tightening and tightening and tightening, waiting to almost explode. It happens even at his parole hearing. Miss Jackson starts with the mic drop about, yeah, you did this to yourself. You're staring at these walls because of the terrible crime you did to her. And then he explodes and says what he says, which is, of course, you know, in some sense, it puts things into, if you want to feel compassion for his pain, for his rage, for how he ended up where he is. You know, he spit it out there, and you can see that what his father did to him. He's never, but he's the problem that I'm seeing is that he's never dealt with it. It's still all of that anger that got him to where he is today, one might surmise, is still there. It was in a certain interview where he kind of had like a different approach than others. It didn't seem that he came in with, I'm going to go and put on my best act and try to butter up the board. I mean, it's just like, it seemed like his strategy, like he didn't have one. He just came in and was just very rough on the edges. In some sense, I was like, okay, he's not making excuses, he's just owning up to it. He's saying there's nothing he can't say. Everything he did was terrible. He wasn't blaming it on the drugs. He could have, unless it's all just a manipulation play and he didn't take the AA programs he realized he would need to get out. So he had to take the approach that he was sober. And that's possible too. Right? If he had said take the approach like what his attorney recommended and blamed it on the narcotics, and I don't think he had those programs in his jacket, as they say, and he knew he would never get parole. So maybe, and I just don't know. I mean, with the intoxication write-ups that he has, and just the certain things not adding up. He said he didn't drink because he didn't like losing control, but he also would smoke, and I don't know how. Anyways, some people, we see hearings where people at the end of their sentence, at least if it's not authentic, are able to put on the show. But I think it's more than that, because we see them come up after 20 plus years and they have a community supporting them. They have fellow inmates supporting them. They even have the warden that says something kind about them. They have where you can see their 20 years of work represent itself at the parole hearing. And I think sometimes we take it for granted. We just say, what's the big deal? And, oh, good for you. You did, this and this and this in prison. But I think seeing these type of hearings can give us more of an appreciation for that. Some people just sit there and stare at the wall for 24 hours a day for 20 years. And other people, I think, do create a life and do try to give back and have meaning in their life. The sad thing also to me about this was that you see his son come up and speak, who just wants to have a connection with his father, and even became a mechanic because his father was a mechanic, and for him that felt like he'd have some connection. And his son seems to be doing great, to be doing really well. And one might think that maybe he could just have so much joy in that, and be so proud of his son. And he kind of didn't get those vibes. And I know it's not fair to judge someone off of one interview, but maybe it's a blessing for his son that his father's been locked up. This is a very, I'm not judging him for his anger. His life was derailed by his father, like what he said. But and I think that what Miss Jackson was saying was he just exploded on that. He's like, you don't understand. This is what's been happening to me. But at the same time, you went around and you because you got in a fight with your wife, you went and you did that. So we don't have details on it. We don't have facts. But it seems that he grabbed her off or broke into her house and then did the most terrible things to her. And then certain things I think slipped out. He said that I've been doing this all my life. I've been doing it to my girlfriends and my wife, and it's like hurting him and them. And then he's like, no, just acting out. I've been, abusive, but nothing physical. And I don't know if I personally buy that. And it for some reason, in some sense, during the interview, I was kind of rooting for him. I thought like his bluntness, his like not trying to make excuses to extent was refreshing. But then as it just unfolded, I don't. It was a bit shocked by it. it doesn't seem that, so what would you say to the victim? He didn't really have anything to say. And it's like, you have all these years to think of something. And, since 2001, and you don't even have something prepared. It's like you said, all you had to do was sit and stare at your walls. You might think of to have that inner feeling to where you could dig deep into how maybe you felt as a child. And to just pass along that fear to her and describing it. But it doesn't seem that he's done that work, that he's been able to do that work. And that's sad, because if you want, he is going to get out soon. I think they said his good time date is 2025, his full term is 2029. And I just can't see how he doesn't get out angry again. And then he's just going to explode and land up back where he is. Versus, look at your blessings. You have a beautiful son who's and family that care about you. And you're still young. You can still live a very full, happy, fulfilling life. But here it is. Here's what we see. This is what these cockroaches do. The butterfly effect. What his father did to him. Look what he created. Again, the blessing is that it didn't get passed down to his son. Maybe it can stop here. And that just is what disgusts me so much. Why we're all so enraged when we hear about these fathers that do this to their children and get these little slap on the wrist sentences. It makes no sense. Because this is a direct result. That's just my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours. And with that, I'll let you go. Oh, and thank you, Claire, for pointing this out. I don't think I thanked her yet. She saw this and sent me an email. Mandy, you got to do this one. If you see anything that you want me to cover, please do email it. It makes a big difference. And now